Hello, this is Photography Gamer, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing Metro Exodus Gold Edition for the PS4. The game is also available for the Xbox One and Microsoft Windows. Metro Exodus is a first-person shooter developed by 4A Games. Exodus is the third game in the series and inspired by the original Metro novels by Dmitry Glukhovsky. You play as Artyom, the main protagonist from the series, as you seek out survivors beyond the nuclear fallout zone of Moscow. So what is the game like to play? Well, early on you'd be forgiven for thinking you're playing the same old game again. The first 90 minutes act as a very linear and narrow prologue tutorial, and it does drag on a little. But once you reach the first open world area, the game really comes into its own. The open worlds aren't huge, but they're big enough to get lost in, and it gives you time to digest the story, explore derelict areas, and meet all sorts of weird and wonderful characters along the way. To make your journey easier, there are safe houses you can unlock, and this is where you can resupply your gear, clean your guns, or use the crafting stations to mod your weapons. The world has a day-night cycle, and you can rest at certain locations if you'd rather take missions under the cover of darkness. There are cars, boats, and other means of travelling across the vast distances as well. For me, the open world sections are exactly what the franchise needed, as it gives you some much needed space to breathe. As before, the game was a little bit too linear and claustrophobic. It definitely feels a bit different to the previous games. Think Fallout meets The Last of Us set in Russia or something like that. The main campaign is one long road trip, and to get across the vast Russian landscape you have a train which becomes an interlude hub after completing each region. In time you can expand the train with new carriages, you can try out the radio to listen in to local broadcasts, have a quick smoke, chat with Anna, or just craft some gear at the workbench. It's full of character and charm, and it really starts to feel like home after a while. Okay, so what about the weapons and the gear? The gun variety isn't that impressive, but it's the gun parts that remedy that. Guns can be altered on the fly using your backpack or via a workbench. You can change parts, add scopes, new magazines, and as you kill enemies you can loot their guns for parts and ammo. One nice feature that gun enthusiasts will appreciate is the emphasis on keeping your guns clean, because if you let dirt build up, then you might find that they jam in the middle of a firefight. You have a trusty gas mask for contaminated zones. There are binoculars to scout out locations, night vision for stealthy raids, battery-powered torches, and as I said, a backpack that acts like a mobile crafting station. One of the best qualities of Metro Exodus is the earthy and grounded feel of proceedings. What I mean is everything feels analog, manual, like your map is a piece of paper on a clipboard. The way you can use loot or craft items, the way you mod feels natural. The safe houses that allow you to take a break, and even the old style radios you have to sit at manually and tune. All these things give a grounded and realistic quality to the experience. In terms of enemies, you'll encounter a vast array of mutants, creatures, but mostly it'll be human enemies that will cause you the most problems. And this is where the moral choices come in. The game does a great job of letting you choose how you want to play the game. Like in a firefight, if you kill a certain amount of enemies, the remaining troops will surrender. Now, you can just wipe them out, you can knock them out, or you can leave them. It's completely up to you. But your moral choices through the whole experience do become relevant in the end. So think carefully before you kind of completely annihilate a group of soldiers unnecessarily. The story is pretty good, but the writing and narrative leave a little bit to be desired. It doesn't feel up to the high standards of the first game, but as the story progresses, things do improve a little bit. Finally, on gameplay, one performance issue I noticed was the very long loading times for open world areas. There were times where it took 2 to 3 minutes to load a level, which was a little bit tedious. Okay, so that's the base game. What about the DLCs included in the Gold Edition? Well, firstly we have Sam's story, which adds a new map and narrative story that fleshes out the journey of one of the supporting cast. You find yourself in Vladivostok and need to broker a deal between two parties in order to complete your objectives. The second DLC is The Two Colonels, which tells the origin story of a particular location from the main campaign. Now, the DLCs do contain spoilers, so I'm not going to go into the story details here, but I'd say they are both well worth playing and add value to the package, with one being more of a throwback to the first two games and the other being more open and expansive. Graphically, the game looks pretty good overall, although I can't say it's a massive leap forward from the second game. One area I did love were the detailed interiors. They're full of fantastic little touches and they really do look gorgeous. The only graphical issue I had was the bobblehead style camera work for your character. Every minor physical action sets your screen off on a relentless and ridiculous amount of motion, and it's just so overzealous. The game features a photo mode also, but it doesn't let you capture Artium, so it's more for landscape photographers. The music is fine, but I was a little bit disappointed, as in the previous games the soundtrack was of a much higher caliber and more frequent. Voice acting wise it's okay, but again doesn't quite hold up to the previous installments. Okay, what's good and what's bad? What's good? The balance between open world and narrow linear sections is spot on. It's a believable game world. The grounded approach of customizing guns and crafting add a real earthy atmosphere. The 2 DLCs add depth to the overall story, and it's a game that keeps you interested until the end. What's bad? The music, voice acting and writing aren't as good as in the previous installments, and some of the camera work is a little bit bizarre. So what's the verdict? Metro Exodus Gold Edition is a fantastic adventure game set in a grounded and believable post-apocalyptic world. It's an immensely playable and varied experience, and this installment strikes the right balance between open world and linear gameplay. You're never stuck doing the same thing for too long, and because of this I enjoyed those tight linear sections a lot more. The game world is fascinating, the customization options for guns are very cool, and the train becomes your home away from home. It's an epic journey into a dark and disturbed world full of cults, rebel groups and innocent civilians caught in the middle. And when you add the moral choice aspect to it, you've got a fantastic game that's hugely satisfying to work your way through. So with all that being said, my score for Metro Exodus Gold Edition is 9 out of 10. Okay, that was the review. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. This is Photography Gamer signing off. Thank you.